In this video, I'm going to go through a few key features that we will see with World War III, a game that should be releasing later this year, albeit in a beta state. Farm51 answered a few questions on Reddit, and although I wanted to cover it a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't because Battlefield 5 or the alpha of Battlefield 5 came out and I just didn't have enough time. Hopefully, if this game is any good, it will be a game that really challenges EA and DICE, therefore improving Battlefield games at the same time. But even if it's just an okay game, it might be something that we can nip across to and play alongside Battlefield 5, and if BF5 isn't for you, then hopefully this game will be. From what I've heard, the developers are big Battlefield fans, more specifically fans of the older Battlefield titles, which gives many people, including myself, a nice buzz. Although the new BF games are certainly popular and have sold incredibly well, there is something about these slightly older titles that do a little bit more for me. I think maybe they're fans of Battlefield 2 and around that era, but even so, I'm sure there are some of them that really enjoyed BF3 and BF4 as well. Maybe those games are going to reflect a little bit in World War III, and certainly from the stuff that I'm about to mention, it seems like that is the case. Probably the main thing that's been talked about with World War III is the attachment system on the weapons and the vehicles, and how extensive and integrated into the game this is going to be, instead of seeing what we saw in BF1 with the variant system that clearly a lot of people didn't enjoy. This is something many people are interested in, and as I said, Battlefield moved away from that traditional approach that we had in BF3 and BF4. In World War III, the attachment system will be very versatile. Lots of customization will be available, including sticks, barrels, sights, magazines, grips, laser modules, and flashlights. For the vehicles, we will see customization in the form of armor, turrets, remote control weapon stations, and active protection systems, which is very similar to what we saw in BF4. However, you've got that armor and turrets option, which means you could probably produce different variants of tanks. So maybe they introduce a main variant and then you customize it to match what you want it to be like, relating to a real life counterpart. On top of all that, we will have visual customization available for your soldier, including camo, uniform, face paint, and emblems. I'm excited for this as it sounds as if it will be like Battlefield 4 in terms of the levels of customization, but with a little bit extra on top too with that visual stuff. The fact that World War III is multiplayer only also gives the development team more focus, as they don't need to invest loads of time into a single player campaign, which in all honesty not a huge amount of people would probably play. In addition to the weapon customization, they pretty much confirmed that weapons will remain time period specific, so we won't have access to older weapons from previous world wars. However, they did mention there are a few surprises in there, but that can probably be expected. Unfortunately, players will not be able to pilot jets or captain ships on the release of the game. This is a big shame, as this was a major part of Battlefield 3 and 4 and all the Battlefields. You can fly jets, you can fly things in the air, on the ground, that's the whole point. However, the devs did say that it was possible that they would be introduced in the future. We do, however, have access to drones, both in the forms of planes and helicopters, which would open up some interesting gameplay choices, especially as the game is also squad based. You are in a squad and you do have a squad leader, so maybe they will have these drones introduced as a reward for playing well as a squad. We'll have to wait and see. As I just mentioned, there will be squads and squad leaders in World War III. In addition to this, the devs have claimed that World War III is going to push for an authentic feel, but with the fun factor and gameplay having priority. This is essentially what DICE did with BF3 and BF4, so I'm excited to see what Farm51, that's the name of the developers, do with this game, and hopefully they integrate realism and gameplay together, just creating that perfect balance. There is also no reviving in World War III, but they have introduced other ways to get around this. More information on that in the future. Linking into those visual customization options, there will be no possibility of buying currency or gameplay altering equipment in the game, hence there is no possibility of the game becoming pay to win. This is a fantastic move from the devs, and I really do enjoy the fact that they are being open and honest about this. They also said that all maps will be free in the future as well, as they don't want to split the player base, and they did actually link that into what EA had done with Battlefield 1 and other Battlefields in the past. A couple of interesting facts I'll just nip through now. There will be an in-game lean system similar to that in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Additional maps will be free, as I just mentioned. The class balance is similar to the rock, paper, scissors balance in Battlefield already. There will be an XP system for leveling up, but it will not lock certain weapons away unnecessarily. Maps will house 64, 48 and 32 players, depending on what mode you play. Weapons will be based on real life counterparts. Maps will be fairly large, with the urban maps being around a 1 km square. Custom servers could become a thing after early access is over, however they're not in the game currently, and that leads on to the competitive modes that will be in the game, but of course maybe not in this early access state that we'll probably see for around a year. Battle Royale will also be in the game, although it is called Recon and will only be in urban areas to start. And finally, the game will cost less than $60, which is a fairly sensible price from my point of view, although we will have to see what sort of state the game comes out in, because $60 for a game that is really not that great and in an alpha state is probably not a good way to go. Maybe pricing it around the same sort of price as PUBG would be smart. Finally, a couple of other things that I found really interesting. There are recoil patterns in the game, meaning that that skill curve is going to definitely be there. And with vehicles, the tanks can be damaged in slightly different ways to what we see in Battlefield. So systems in the tanks can be damaged. For example, the optics and the RCWS can be damaged, and they're more prone to breaking with lead than other sections of the tank. This could be very interesting to see, as I'm always wanting in Battlefield the tanks to have slightly better damage systems than they currently have. I want to have my turret damaged, or maybe a track damaged, things like that. I have linked that AMA or that Q&A down in the description below. There's loads of questions, I think 50 or 60 in total, with answers from the devs. You can check it out and have a read through if you want. I went through the most important ones and the ones that I felt were most important to me in this video. Overall, I'm excited for World War 3. I don't think it's going to be a Battlefield killer or anything of the sort, but I do think it's going to be fun, and it will be a game that I'll certainly be covering on this channel if they do release it in a somewhat playable state. Thanks for watching, guys. If you did enjoy, leave a like. Let me know what you think of the game down in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.